In just 35 years, one man built an empire stretching from the Mediterranean coast to the borders of India, conquering more territory in his lifetime than almost anyone in history before him. He never lost a major battle. He turned a modest Central Asian city into one of the most magnificent capitals on earth. And his descendants would go on to found one of the greatest empires in Indian history. This is the story of Amir Timur, known in the West as Tamerlane, and the Timurid Empire he left behind. Timur was born in 1336 near the city of Kesh in what is now Uzbekistan, into a minor noble family of Turco-Mongol heritage. He came of age in a region shaped by the legacy of the Mongol Empire, which had fractured centuries earlier into competing khanates, leaving Central Asia a patchwork of rival warlords and tribal confederations. Timur spent his early years as a minor military leader, gradually building alliances and a loyal following through a mix of battlefield skill and political calculation. According to tradition, he was wounded in his right leg and hand during these early campaigns, an injury that gave him the nickname Timur-i-Lang, Timur the Lame, later rendered in Europe as Tamerlane. By 1370, at around 34 years old, Timur had eliminated his rivals and seized control of the city of Samarkand, declaring himself the supreme ruler of the Chagatai realm. Unlike Genghis Khan, Timur was not descended from the great Khan himself, so he never claimed the title of Khan outright. Instead, he ruled as Amir, commander, while marrying into the Chinggisid royal line to bolster his legitimacy, and governing through puppet Khans who held the title in name only. It was a clever solution, real power in his hands, without the resistance that claiming the throne outright might have provoked.
From Samarkand, Timur launched more than 3 decades of near-continuous military campaigns across Central Asia, Persia, the Caucasus, and beyond. He crushed the Khanate of the Golden Horde in the north, dismantling a power that had once dominated Russia and the steppe. He campaigned into India in 1398, sacking Delhi and leaving much of northern India in ruins, a devastating blow that some accounts say killed tens of thousands. He marched west into Persia, Mesopotamia, and the Levant, capturing the great cities of Isfahan, Baghdad, and Damascus one after another. His campaigns were extraordinarily brutal. Cities that resisted were often destroyed, their populations massacred, and towers of skulls reportedly built as warnings to others. But cities that surrendered without a fight were frequently spared, and their skilled artisans, scholars, and architects were deported back to Samarkand rather than killed, a calculated strategy that combined terror with cultural enrichment of his own capital. In 1402, Timur achieved perhaps his most famous victory, defeating the Ottoman Sultan Bayezid I at the Battle of Ankara and capturing him alive, a humiliation for the Ottomans that temporarily halted their expansion into Europe by several decades, and some historians argue may have delayed the eventual fall of Constantinople itself. By the early 1400s, Timur's empire stretched from the Aegean coast of Anatolia to the Ganges River in India, and from the Aral Sea to the Persian Gulf, one of the largest empires
Despite the devastation of his conquests, Timur was also a patron of extraordinary artistic and architectural achievement. He forcibly relocated the finest architects, craftsmen, and scholars from across his conquered territories to Samarkand, transforming his capital into one of the most magnificent cities in the Islamic world. The result includes structures that still stand today, defined by soaring turquoise domes, intricate tilework, and monumental scale that continues to draw visitors from around the world. In 1405, at nearly 70 years old, Timur set out on an ambitious campaign to conquer Ming China, but he fell ill and died en route near the city of Otrar. His empire, vast but held together large.
Over the following decades, the Timurid Empire fractured into smaller, competing principalities, squeezed between the rising power of the Uzbek Shaybanids from the north and the Safavid Empire emerging in Persia. By the early 1500s, the Timurids had lost control of their Central Asian heartland entirely. But the dynasty story did not end there. a young Timurid prince named Babur, driven out of his ancestral territory around Fergana, fled south into Afghanistan and eventually into India. In 1526, at a decisive battle, Babur defeated the Delhi Sultanate and founded the Mongol Empire, which would go on to rule most of the Indian subcontinent for the next 3 centuries, producing rulers like Akbar and monuments recognized around the world today. In a very real sense, Timur's bloodline built a second empire, even greater in longevity than his own. Today, Amir Timur is remembered very differently, depending on where you stand. In Uzbekistan, he is celebrated as a national founding figure and a symbol of Central Asian identity.